so fresh, looking so fresh. When I walk by, breaking their necks. Waiting in line at the team store. Now I'm feeling fly like a condor. Eyes on me when I walk through the door. Man, I wish I bought a couple more, cause I really love my city. It was worth every penny. Everywhere at my show, then I know they gon' tip me. Think I might add a couple patches. If you think it's ugly, you capping. Now my whole outfit matching, never going out of fashion.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Talking Friars. I'm Ben Fadden. We got the Padres and the Reds to talk about. Padres dropped 2 out of 3. Dropped the first game, won the second game, and dropped today's game earlier today in Cincinnati. Frustrating because the Padres, they had that lead there in the ninth inning, but then they end up blowing it. Robert Suarez with a blown save. But I don't want to make this all about Robert Suarez. You know, we can talk about that, and maybe some fans aren't going to be super confident in Robert Suarez, but the reality is they went 0 for 13 with runners in scoring position today. If they would have done better than that, they probably win this baseball game. The Reds went 4 for 8, and they won by 1 run. Reds left 7 guys on base. The Padres left 13 guys on base. So, you want to explain the game right there? There you go. Stephen Kolek, he did his job, 5 2/3, 1 earned run. Morahone, no runs. Estrada, no runs. Adam, no runs. And Robert Suarez should have been better with his pitch location. Obviously, that final batter, Will Benson, wanted the pitch to be low and away, and it ends up being over the heart of the plate. That can't happen. So there's obviously multiple people to blame here, but a lot of it's the offense. That's just what it is. And so, yeah, it's a game. When you go 0 for 13 with runners in scoring position, hard for me to say you deserve to win that baseball game. So it's not the end of the world. Obviously, the Padres, even with this loss, they're still 45 and 38. So over 500, still in a playoff picture, and it's June 29th. But all of these games count the same. So this is another one of those that you can add to that list of games that we may look back on later this season, depending on where the Padres are, their playoff position or not in playoff position. And look back and be like, yeah, they got to win that game. That's a game. Some games, it's like you get out to too far of a deficit too early. It's just not the day some pitcher gets rocked. That's not what was happening. And so, yeah, it's a bummer for sure. Because I don't care that they're playing in Cincinnati. You go into Cincinnati thinking that, yeah, you should win that series. And it's not like my thought changes on that. Yeah, should have won that series. Was it hot today? Yeah. I was watching the U.S. Women's National Team game too because they were playing in Cincinnati as well, and that's what a lot of the talk was how hot it was. But fans aren't going to give you much sympathy there when you're getting paid. Some guys are getting paid $30 million a year to go out there and perform, and didn't do it well enough, obviously. So now they move on to the Phillies, which should be a very interesting series. I mean, right out of the gate, Matt Walton returns tomorrow, and they got to face Zach Wheeler. So on paper, they lose that game. But because it's baseball, they're probably going to win that game. Nick Pivetta faces his former team on Tuesday. And then on Wednesday, Dylan Cease will face off against Mick Abel for the Phillies there. Mick Abel, that's the 10:05 a.m. start time, our time. Then they got the day off before they are back home to face off against the Rangers. So obviously there's a lot to talk about with this Cincinnati series. I want to do this show here as a big reaction show to get fans' reactions. I'll go through the comments, obviously. If you want to join the show, I've left that link. I believe I put it in the chat. It should be in the chat. Yes, I did. So you can scroll up to the top of the chat and click that link if you do want to join the show. If you have any thoughts on where this Padres team is at, thoughts on this series, thoughts on maybe potential additions to this team. And yeah, so just to quickly recap this, Bogarts got that homer. This was before he had to leave the game because he had a bad cramp. And so Tyler Wade came in for him, obviously. But yeah, Bogey, he's hitting better. And so that's definitely encouraging. But will that be able to happen for the rest of the season? That's a question mark. Ellie De La Cruz tied it up 1-1 there in the 6th with the RBI single. Padres, though, did take the lead, and thankfully, because of the big hop on the Iglesias grounder, allowed Iglesias to reach, and instead of being an inning-ending double play, he reaches, runs scores, and so they have a lead. But then Suarez comes in the 9th, and Spencer Steer with the RBI single makes it 2-2. And the pitch location was almost right down the middle. It was, if you look at the box, there's the right down the middle box, small box, and then the one to the right above it, and that's where that pitch was. So obviously, got to have a little bit better location there, and totally have to have better location on the Will Benson walk-off single. If you go look at the pitch location there, I believe Maldonado was set low and away, and that ball ended up low in. So it just didn't hit his spot. And to a lefty like Benson, he can just take it right down the line just like he did. And obviously the Padres have zero shot to keep that game going there. But again, like this game was I'm not going to say it was over because like the Padres still had the lead going into the bottom of the 9th. But they did have bases loaded situations where there was a pop-up, bases loaded and just you're not able to come through. And that's where it really hurt, obviously, because it kept the Reds in this game. And then late in the game, Suarez command's not the best. And he ends up giving it up there. So obviously the players, like they're going to forget about it. They flush it because you have to in a long season. But this is one of those that I don't think Padre fans are going to forget about, especially when someone like Steven Kolek is starting this game and he goes almost 6 innings, pitches into the 6th inning, gives up just 1 run. Bullpen does its job, but Robert Suarez wasn't great, and then the offense going 0 for 13 with runners in scoring position. Just absolutely terrible with that number. And, early in the series, there were some bases loaded spots, too, that they didn't come through. Kevin Acee wrote in his Padres Daily the other day about how the Padres in their last, 39 games were hitting around 215, I want to say, with runners in scoring position. Maybe that was Manny that was doing that. But they're like 26th in baseball is the point with runners in scoring position lately. And they have a losing record, obviously, which isn't a surprise. And what happened, it brings us back to last year in the postseason. What happened last year where they had it and then 24 consecutive scoreless innings? Well, what happens there? You don't come through when it matters the most. And in the regular season, when you have the opportunity to come through, that's where it matters the most because these are all 1 of 162. So, what games actually matter the most? So it's not even like that for me. It's more of let's narrow this down into situations that matter the most. And the situations that matter the most are those when you've got those runners in scoring position. So that's that. I do see that there are Dodger fans in the chat, and there are Dodger fans that are willing to pay me just to say that the Dodgers won today. And so I will do that. I see this super chat. Thank you very much to this Dodger fan. $2 super chat, paying you $2 to say Dodgers win 5-1. Yes, they did win today. Congratulations. 5-1. Who'd they play? The Royals. Yeah. All I heard about that this weekend was Shohei Ohtani, MLB, gushing over Shohei Ohtani throwing 100. It's we know he can do that. Wow. Congratulations. I think they lost that game too. But yeah, thanks for the money. Appreciate it. Let's see some comments here. Brady says there is selling this team on trade deadline. It will not compete. Let's be realistic. We will not even qualify. Let's sell it and try again next year. So you want to sell before the trade deadline. Here's the issue with that. Manny, Bogarts, Tatis, these guys, all the vets, especially throw Darvish in that. I'll have some Darvish and King updates here in a little bit. You throw those guys into the veteran, they're aging, not getting any younger. Obviously, everyone's not getting younger. But especially those guys, your big guys, and you're just going to toss a year out the window just because they lost to the Reds today? Or even if you want to widen it out and say, just because they have a losing record in the last like 40 games, let's remember the Padres are in a better spot than they were last year, record wise, through I think the first 80 games. A better spot record wise than they were last year. I saw Marty Caswell tweet about that. And Mike Schultz's teams in the second half of the season, historically, are some of the best in baseball. He is known for having his teams play their best baseball in the second half. Is it the same team as last year? No. Is it the same team as those Cardinals teams that he managed? No. But also, you pair Schilt, the talent they have on this team, and additions that will come before the deadline because A.J. Preller is going to make some moves. And I would say additional. I'm not saying move. I would say moves that he will make. You add that up, combine those things, and I think you're still sitting in a fine spot. So, yeah, sell Dylan Cease, sell Luis Ariz. I don't even know how much you'd get back for Luis Ariz, to be quite honest. But you want to sell those guys and waste a year of these primes. Yeah, no. Not doing that. Like, why would you sell when you're this close, when the wild card picture is this close and the other teams around you? I know I'm a Padres fan, so maybe I'm biased here. But if we look at the standings, and I know it's June, but the wild card picture right now, with a little more than a month to go till the trade deadline, you look at these teams around them. The Cardinals, are they going to be there the entire rest of the season? Are the Cincinnati Reds going to be like this the rest of the season? The D-backs, obviously, they're 4.5 back of a playoff spot. They have the Corbin Burns injury to deal with. The Braves are 7 games under 500. Don't even have to talk about the Marlins or the Pirates, those teams. But the other teams there, the Brewers, the Mets, okay, yeah, they'll hang in there. The Giants, okay, I can buy that. But right now, and I don't watch the Cardinals every day, so maybe Cardinals fans would be like, you're stupid. But I don't think that the Cardinals have a better shot of hanging in there than the Padres do. Now, they do have the NL Central, but there's something about the pitching. And obviously, I know more about the Padres than the Cardinals, but would I want to go trust? If I could pick an offense for the rest of the season, would I rather have a Cardinals offense or the Padres offense? I know that right now the runners in scoring position numbers aren't great, but I'm probably still going to pick the talent of the Padres offense. And I know like talent it didn't give you anything in 2023, right? Like you still got to gel, you still got to play team baseball. But they have played team baseball this season. We've already seen it. Right now, obviously, it's a rough patch with the runners in scoring position, especially today with 0 for 13, right? But I'm still going to take the Padres over the Cardinals, at least for that last spot. Let's say it's the Brewers and Mets still that stay in the first two. That last wild card spot, I would probably pick the Padres. And again, like remember, the Padres, they're going to acquire pieces. You can have this sell talk, like sell, cease, and that, anything they can sell. I guess Suarez you would include in there. But if you're the Padres, why would you give up a year of Manny's prime? Why would you give up a year of Tatis? Give up a year of Crony? Give up a year of Bogarts? Why would you give up a year? Like you gave up a lot for Dylan Cease, right? You're going to give that up. You're going to give. Remember, Michael King is a free agent at the end of the year. He sees, by the way, light at the end of the tunnel to come back and pitch this year. You're just going to give that up. And by the way, it's too early to make any decisions. It's June 29th. But A.J. Preller, he's just not the guy that sells. I mean, 2023, he didn't sell. I thought he should have because, I thought the writing was on the wall. He didn't even sell that year. So, no. That's just, I don't think, is as much of a possibility there for the Padres to be selling. And for Brady here, you say, let's be realistic, not even qualifying. Well, you don't know that. It's June 29th here. So it's too early to make those declarations. Merrill has been holding on to S ever since he got his contract. He can't hit home runs. Well, let's remember he just got hit in the hand today, and he's coming back from the concussion. Can he still hit home runs? Yes, he can still hit home runs. Like, come on. I don't really know what you mean by that, though. He's still been holding on to S ever since he got his contract. Holding on to what? That doesn't really make sense to me. He wants to win. Has he won yet? No. So, like, I don't need to question, oh, Merrill got his contract, so he's just going to stop trying to get better. Tyler says, called it before. This Suarez is more real than the one we saw in the beginning of the season. This team is a fraud. We should fire Sale, build up our minor leagues again. People keep talking about the minor leagues, and it's not as strong as it once was. Yeah, no crap. When you make trades, that's what happens. But the Padres, it seems like every year, even when that's said every year, there are teams that want Padres prospects. So how about just have faith in people that know way more than we do about the Padres farm system, and those that are developing these guys, than to say, build up our minor leagues again. We don't have any depth. Just saying. Brady says we have players who should be traded and we would get good pieces next year. I'm not in this for next year, though. Like, we still haven't won. Haven't made it to the World Series. Haven't won the World Series. As a Padres fan, I'm not in this for next year. Maybe I sound like a older Padres fan that doesn't know how many years left they have. Obviously, I'm on the younger side, but like, I'm still in this for this year. I'm not in this for next year. I don't understand people that are like, oh yeah, just next year, because on June 29th, they're one game out of a playoff spot, and oh, by the way, they're 7 games over 500. Oh, fire sale. That just doesn't make sense to me. And you want to do it when Michael King's not back, Darvish is not back, Merrill just got back, Hoeing just got back. Like, you want to do this without seeing the full team play consistently, and you want to do this with a month before the trade deadline. A lot can change before the trade deadline, so I disagree with that. I see Ditto wants to join the show. What's up, man? How's it going?
Yeah, it's been going fine, give or
Anything
take.
to talk about on here?
Yeah, I don't want to like be that guy who's kind of cocky about himself, but a couple of weeks ago when we beat the Dodgers like 5-3, I said like I was happy about the W, but high key Suarez like you gotta go, and here we are.
He's got it. So you think that they should trade him?
Yeah, I mean he and Dylan Cease for Jaron Duran. What do we think?
But how does that make the Padres overall better for this season? If you're trying to win this season,
I mean, because we have a better closer in Morajon on the team. Estrada could probably be a good closer. Adam, and like you said a couple of minutes ago, Hoeing's back, so our bullpen's not cooked, and then left fielder's solved, and then yeah, like you just said, King should be back soon, give or take. Darvish will be back soon, and is it true that Waldron's actually coming back tomorrow?
tomorrow. Yep.
Yeah, so pitching's not cooked at all. Neither is bullpen if we do that, and
Okay.
we get
So
that left fielder solved with
right.
the power hitter.
What I would say there, and that's a very intriguing trade, like, because you put it that initially when you put it that way, I was like, as I said, like, how does that make this year's team better? But when I think about it more, sure, there's still pitching options there, but I don't know. I still believe in Dylan Cease.
But because
But
like both of them are because both of them are free agents after the year, and
right,
who really knows if they walk or not? So that's why
it feels
I
like
was,
they would, especially
yeah,
Dylan
that's
Cease.
why I was like suggesting that,
Right.
especially because like the value matches up with what the
Yeah.
Red Sox would want.
Right. But also, I don't know if that would have to be I don't know if that could be the full trade because you're trading the Red Sox 1 year guys. The Red Sox, I've listened to some Red Sox shows, mainly Section 10 with Jared Carrabis and them. Like, they don't believe that the Red Sox are a team to win this year. And if they add Cease and Suarez, will they be more excited? Yeah, but you're also losing Duran, and he's the one that's on a longer contract. I know the Red Sox, like, he's expendable because of guys that they have coming up. I think Roman Anthony in left, but at the same time, like, they're acquiring Dylan Cease for 1 year, and who knows if he would resign. You're acquiring Robert Suarez for 1 year. Who knows if he's going to resign? I just, for a team, it would be one thing if you would make that trade with a team that totally could go win this season. I just don't see that with the Red Sox.
Okay.
Because right now, they're, I mean, that's a team that's 3 games under 500.
Yeah, it's like I just thought the Red Sox were like moving everyone because of the whole Rafael Devers to the Giants trade, and they barely got anything in return for that.
Yeah, that's true. They would be taking on salary for 1 year guys. They're not going to win this year. Now, it could be a long term
Yeah, like they
plan
could
there. Like,
extend those guys. Yeah,
they could,
that's
exactly. They could be like, we want to make room. We're good. We don't need Duran. That's fine. And we're making this trade so we have we're the only team that can negotiate with Dylan Cease for months before the season ends, and then he becomes a free agent. And then if they sign him to an extension, then, like, yeah, they would say that trade was well worth it, even if they don't get other pieces besides Suarez and Cease, I guess. Um, but that is a risk that they totally would be taking if they do acquire, because Cease, I want to say he's a Boris guy, so would he want to uh, go sign an extension when he could just say, well, the Red Sox, I'm going to pin you against other teams in free agency instead of it only being the Red Sox that could sign me. And I haven't even been here for a full season. I just got here. I'm going to need some time here and not just sign an extension immediately. I want to open this up. Like, this is because this is going to be Cease's, like, I feel like one big opportunity to go get that big contract in free
yeah.
agency. So you make good points. Like, that definitely is more of an intriguing trade, more of a possible trade, I think. I just question the 1 year thing and the Red Sox, like, they're not going to win this year. That's where it's a question to me. But, like, you talking about the rotation and the bullpen they definitely could make it work without Robert Suarez in the bullpen. Like, I totally buy that. But if you look at the postseason, like, starters aren't going to go super long. Would you like to have Robert Suarez as an option? You probably would. Remember in the he was struggling at the end of last season. Postseason
Yeah.
comes around and he ends up performing well. So, like, I do want to remind people that it is June 29th here, and there's a long way to go. And just because he's struggling now or just because he's struggling in September doesn't mean that he's going to struggle in the postseason. Like, this guy, it's all-star stuff, and it's someone that I'd still want to have in the bullpen when the Padres make the postseason, and I believe they still will make the postseason this year.
Okay.
Anything else?
Yeah. So what happened with Xander Bogaerts? Because I heard he was having like a really good game, and then I heard that in the ninth inning he had to leave, and then Wade replaced him,
Yeah,
and then Wade made a huge mistake or something.
Annie Halburn said Xander had a pretty severe cramp, so he was pulled for Wade. Now, it makes sense. Like, it was hot in Cincinnati, but there has been other stuff too with the shoulder, and so it's something obviously that I'm not saying the cramp is something to be worried about, but just like Bogart's long term availability is something obviously to keep an eye on, mainly with that shoulder. I feel like that left shoulder, which is the same shoulder that he
Injured last year.
fractured last year. Yeah.
Okay. So I understand that, like, okay, maybe you're not the biggest fan of the trade I proposed, but do you have any trades that you would think would be a good idea for this season?
I would say I'm not opposed to trading C. I mean, it's kind of like Suarez. Like I'd like to have those guys, available for the postseason. But if let's say Michael King and Darvish can come back, Dylan Cease, like he's had a lot of chances to be consistent, and it hasn't been as consistent as we wanted it to be. We're not going to sign him long term. I understand that. I don't have any hope, to be quite honest, that we would sign him long term.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
So
We should trade him and
if
get
they
something
get
back while we can.
let's say they get King, Darvish back, you have Pavetta,
Yes.
and you could have maybe Matt Waldron, you have Vasquez, you have Kolek. Maybe they acquire a starter, a lower low, kind of like a Martin Perez, someone like that, at the deadline, and that adds more to the depth. There's long guys in the pen like Brian Hoeing that can do that as well. So it wouldn't be the end of the world if you did deal Dylan Cease to a contending team. I just haven't looked at like what contender it would fit best on, because that contender obviously would be taking on last year arbitration money. So it's not like any team would be able to just make everything work there with Dylan Cease.
Okay. What about a team like the Braves, maybe? Because I mean, they're one of the teams that was interested in trading for him in the offseason when it was like highly rumored we'd be dealing him.
Yeah, the Braves are kind of like the Red Sox though, where I feel like they're not going to be this like super successful team this year. So the only reason they would do that, I would think, would be for an extension, not necessarily for this season. Um, it's an interesting team, but yeah, I mean, I'll just take a look at the teams right now just to see if any team sticks out. Like Seattle for this year, I mean, they have a lot of pitching, and they wouldn't
Yeah.
sign him long term. So I just don't see that.
I
There's
think
the
the Orioles were another team from the offseason.
Yeah, but they're 36 and 47. That just doesn't make sense.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. The Blue Jays are out there. That's a team that has money to spend, obviously.
Yeah, they did
Yeah,
offer
there's
for Connie
the
Soto.
there's the Yankees, obviously. There's the Astros, the Tigers. I feel like the Tigers would have money to spend. So you could throw out those teams. Not throw out, but like have them be in the conversation. I feel like the Mets always have money to spend, but I don't know if the Padres would want to send Cease to a team that they could play in the postseason.
Yeah,
So
that's
really,
true.
I would focus on like Detroit, Houston, New York, Yankees, and like Toronto, because like the Rays are up there first wild card, but they're not going to spend on. I think you trade them to someone that wouldn't be doing this just for 1 year, and they want, even if they don't extend Cease, they would want to like have conversations at least, like they'd be able to extend him, and then they'd go after him in the offseason at least.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, also that's pretty smart. Where like we would trade him to the AL and not have to worry about like facing him in postseason and dealing with karma and all that.
Right. And if we face him in the World Series, I'm more than happy to face him in the World Series. Like let's
Fair
let's
enough.
just get there, Yeah. So,
Yeah.
all right. Thanks so much for the time, man. I'll admit that was a good trade request with the Red
Thanks.
Sox there. I just I do question a little bit, but no, that's like Duran would definitely fit this team. I'd love to have Jaron Duran on this team. Um, it's more just like finding that ground for both sides to get that deal done, because I don't feel like Duran's going to be on the Red Sox long term. So yeah,
I mean,
there's
neither
that.
would Cease and Suarez with us, so that's why.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
like,
Yep.
it'd be pretty even for both sides.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, man. Have a great rest of your day,
You
and
too.
thanks for coming on. All righty. Super chat from JD's third. So many are saying we have easy schedules. We have one of the worst offenses in baseball for months now. Easy schedule won't help us. AJ is out of time. Except he's not out of time because it's June 29th. And he's still employed by the Padres. So he's going to make moves before the deadline. He's not out of time. Just telling you the fact. But appreciate the super chat. One of the worst offenses in baseball for months now. The runners in scoring position thing obviously is an issue. That sticks out to me. Yes, that's a little concerning, um, but still at the same time, I'd like to see this new order be consistent. And I'm talking about show like having that order be out there every day consistently. Get that span of time, the sample size, see how that is, and then see what the lineup is before the trade deadline, whatever additions come before people start, overreacting. But we're fans, so fans are going to overreact. By the way, if you missed the first two games of this series, just to quickly go over that, I already gave my reactions, but Padres won 6-4. Yesterday, they lost 8-1 in game one. Obviously, that was almost the no hitter by Nick Martinez. And, um, you know, as Mike Schilt said, hats off to Nick Martinez. He did pitch well. I know Padres fans don't want to hear that, but he did pitch well. And we know that talent was in there. It just wasn't being, he wasn't great going into that outing. So maybe that's why it was a little bit surprising. Obviously surprising that Nick had a no hitter going into the ninth inning before the first hit. It was a walk and then a hit. By the way, that Cincinnati left fielder, Velade, I think was in left field at the time. You got to be running. You got to be going like full extension. I know the ball hit the wall, and people were like, "Well, he was going to break his neck then." No, if he goes and runs and has full extension, he maybe could have gotten glove on the ball. And if you run into the wall, you run into the wall. Like you're the Reds. You're not going to go far this year. You're fourth in the NL Central. This would be the highlight of your season. And it just didn't look like he gave maximum effort on that play. But I'm grateful for it because that means the Padres didn't get embarrassed by, well, they kind of did still, right? Only one hit, but they didn't get no hit by a former Padre. That would have really sucked. Game two, they won 6-4. It was good to get, back in the win column, if you will. They were down 3-0 at one point. Then a Rice homers, Crony homers, Gavin Sheets homers, 3-run homer to give give the Padres the lead. The great play that he made in left field, and it wasn't just, oh, he'll run a few steps and dive. He had to get over there. He covered some serious ground there and then laterally dove. Saying post game he's been working every day out there with Dave Macias, the outfield coach, first base coach for the Padres. And so it's just, I love that story of a guy that the White Sox didn't want. He comes in, works on a swing in spring training, and then in the regular season, he ends up, being one of the best Padres offensive players. And they ask him to go to left field. He's the team player, works his butt off at that position, and now he's helping the Padres win games, not just offensively, but defensively as well. After running into walls and looking like he didn't know how to play left field. He didn't know what a warning track was. It's just a good turnaround story in the middle of a season. So, I love that from Gavin Sheets. I love the Holy Sheets chants as well after the game near the dugout. That was cool. Losing today, obviously 3-2. Getting walked off, 0-13 with runners in scoring position. That's just the main thing today. That's, people can rip Robert Suarez, but if the Padres came through a few times, may not have even been a save situation in that spot. So, before getting to the Darvish and Michael King updates, I did want to shout out the great partners of this show. Got Gaglione Bros famous cheesesteaks and garlic fries. Their main location is on Friars Road. They got their full menu there. The condensed menu, but still a good menu, at Petco Park. They're down the third baseline and they're in their upper deck, section 319, 124 and 319. They've got cheesesteaks, cheesesteak fries, garlic fries. Really, really good. Sometimes there's long lines, so get there to the ballpark early so you don't have to wait in those lines. And hopefully you'll be able to, this next homestand, you can see some early Padres offense. FreestyleCutAndStitch.com is the website for the custom basketball jersey company. It's a local brand. So if you want to support someone locally and you don't want to pay for $200 Padres jerseys, same basketball jerseys that these players wear. Jackson Merrill, Dylan Cease, Manny's worn in the past. Tyler Wade, last year, Profar and Kim wore them. Like a lot of Padres wear these basketball jerseys. Musgrove, obviously. And by the way, they paid out of pocket for these jerseys because they love them and they wanted to support a local brand. So if you want to do the same, you want to get 10% off on these custom basketball jerseys, feel free to use that code Talking Friars for 10% off on any future order. They're on Instagram. Check them out. Freestyle Cut and Stitch. And again, if you want to like save money, you want to have that personalized, you know, jersey where it's not just a Padres jersey. It's a little bit different. Maybe you want the 98 style. You want a City Connect basketball jersey, something. If it's something that's not on the website, they have the 84 style as well, the numbers and the letters there. If you want something else, you can request it and they will do their best to fulfill that offer. If you're more of a shirt person, they got Breaking Tea. I've got Breaking Tea, I should say. I'm actually wearing the Jackson Merrill shirt right now. Click the link in the description for that. That'll take you to the San Diego Sports page, and you can click on the Padres section. I think it may be labeled Slam Diego, and you'll see a bunch of custom Padres shirts: Merrill, Tatis, Darvish, Manny. There's a Holy Sheet shirt on there. A lot of different options. So I definitely recommend you check them out. And if maybe you don't want to spend $200 on a jersey, you can spend $40 on a shirt. So there's that. And then same code for Freestyle Cut and Stitch as for SeatGeek. $20 off your first order when you sign up with your email address. That is code Talking Friars. All right, let's get to the updates on Yu Darvish and Michael King, because I'm sure that Padre fans want to know what's the latest on those guys, because those guys coming back, that's 2/5 of your rotation. Those guys are potential aces. Those are guys that would be pitching in postseason games. You want these guys back. So the Darvish update from Kevin Acee this morning is that he threw 31 pitches in the bullpen yesterday in Cincinnati. Schilt said the plan is for him to pitch a simulated game this week. Remember, he threw a simulated game, 51 pitches at Low A Lake Elsinore on Wednesday before the team hit the road. So it seems like everything went well health-wise there out of that sim game and out of the bullpen. So there is that. Still don't know exactly when he would return, but just giving you the update that I see there. Then there was the update on Michael King. Michael King threw on the field on Friday for the second time in 4 days. He said the area around his scapula still is not quite feeling normal, quote, but way, way less than it was before. And that's more like strength and range of motion, end quote. So he's still building. And him throwing, he's not just throwing as an exercise, but he's doing it with intent now. So to me, that's encouraging. He's obviously farther away from Darvish, to returning to a big league mound. And I understand if you're going to be less optimistic about King returning than you are about Darvish, obviously. But King still, any notion that he might not pitch again this season, he thinks that is laughable. So I'll take him at his word for it. Maybe I shouldn't though, because just this whole situation's been a little bit bizarre, where the Padres don't they're contacting the Tigers doctors because one of the Tigers players who is not a starting pitcher, I think he's a position player, dealt with what Michael King dealt with, and so or at least close to what Michael King dealt with. So they're trying to get a feel of how the recovery, the rehab process was for that. It's just not something like Tommy John, like that's something that's kind of written out. These trainers, doctors, whatever, they know, the medical teams know how to go about that, and that's what Musgrove's doing right now. With Michael King, this is just different. So it seems like he's actually starting to build here. I think he threw from about 100 feet, 105 feet is the number that I saw. And so, yeah, it's not great to see that he's saying that the area around his scapula still is not quite feeling normal. Should he wait till it feels normal to start throwing? The medical staff would know way better than me, so I'm not even going to give you an answer on that. I'm just here to update you on what I've read from Kevin Acee, but I guess I don't have anything else to do other than trust that Michael King will end up pitching again this season. Because the Padres aren't going to acquire a starter better than Michael King before the deadline. I can think that they're going to acquire a starter that can, help with their depth, but when Michael King is on, I mean, we saw it that Braves wild card start. Like when he pitches well, he can, carry you to a postseason win, multiple. So just kind of sit there, hope and pray that King can come back. Same thing with Darvish. I mean, we saw he was not the reason why the Padres lost that last game 5 in the NLDS last year against the Dodgers. He was on, and he is fun to watch when he's pitching, and he's healthy, and he's got all the different pitches and all that. So, still don't know when they're going to return, but hopefully Darvish would return at some point in July. Michael King, I'm not even thinking about July right now. I'm thinking more August. But even the Padres, they've stressed, like sources that Kevin's talked to, have stressed that they just want Darvish to be ready to go for the last couple months of the season and be healthy and be able to pitch. And the last couple months of the season are August, September, regular season. And so maybe they really slow play this and maybe do it like the Dodgers are doing it with Ohtani, where Darvish, I don't think Darvish wants to do that, though. He doesn't want to have it be a bullpen game after him because he pitches one inning and he's building up in the big league. It's different with Ohtani because they need his bat in the lineup at the same time. So that's why they're doing that. With Darvish, if Darvish is going to return, you don't want to have bullpen games. You want him to return when he can give you at least 5 innings, I would think. And then you go to the bullpen. You don't want to tax his bullpen even more because they've had times this season where they've obviously been taxed. So I still think like we could do late July with Darvish, after the All-Star break with Darvish, but with Michael King, yeah, I'm thinking August. I'm hoping August at this point, because right now this rotation, it's Pavetta, it's Cease, and then after that, Kolek, Vasquez, got Waldron tomorrow. As much as I want to trust Kolek because he's actually had good starts, and Vasquez, same thing. Waldron, we saw the 10, 11 start span he had last year. I exhale when I see Darvish or King start. It's not really the case when the other guys are starting. Although my expectations for someone like Kolek have risen, but that's because of the work that he's done. But I think it's still the name of Stephen Kolek is what, and for some of the other guys too, that's what's drawing me back and maybe some other fans back from being like, oh yeah, rotation, it's in a great spot. I just can't say that when you got the guys the caliber of King and Darvish on the IL. Obviously Musgrove, but if he pitches, that's going to be, in the postseason, you would think. Although I did see him throw, he was thrown in the outfield the other day. So that's the update there. I do see Vincent wants to join the show, so I'll have him on. Vincent, what's up, man? Hope you're doing well.
I'm doing fine. I mean, it's kind of a tragic loss for the Padres, and I watched the Padres because I'm in San Diego, but I follow, the Angels because I was kind of jumped on the Shohei bandwagon, and then my grandparents live in DC, so I follow the Nationals, and I was there for two of the games when the Padres played the Nationals, and I kind of just look at other teams, and I feel like that the Padres, I feel like that obviously they need more pitching with the injuries, but I feel like Trevor Williams is like, I feel like possibly he pitched, I believe, was 6 to 7 innings against the Padres. He's from San Diego. I've seen they've, tried to make somewhat of a commitment. Like, okay, this player's decent. He's from San Diego. They try and go after him. And I feel like that is probably someone the Padres should trade for because I know the deadline's coming. So I feel like that's someone they should possibly trade for. And then I actually got to meet him during the Nationals game on Monday because his dad actually sits in front of us. So I got to meet him pregame on the field. So I feel like that's what the Padres should go after.
Yeah, I see his dad like always wearing the national stuff behind the plate, even if it's like Padres Marlins. So
Yeah,
yeah, from San Diego. Um, high school was Rancho Bernardo,
Yeah.
and yeah, I'd be fine with it. You look at the ERA, it's 5.65, 16 starts. The WHIP's almost 1.5. Like, this is not someone that, if the Padres acquire him, that's going to be like talked about on MLB Network, for 24 hours. But it's something that Padre fans, I think, would be able to get behind. At least some that are like, yeah, hometown kid, let's go. Um, I thought at some point he'd sign like a minor league deal with the Padres and have that opportunity to make a rotation with the hometown team. So I'd be fine with it. But if you're a Padres fan, I feel like you want to aim higher than Trevor Williams. I think you'd want to aim for someone higher, but also get him too, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I just feel like that, if the Padres were after someone, that they would probably go after him, possibly in like a three-way deal between, two other teams where, each party is getting something. And honestly, I'm not sure. I believe there is a former pitcher who's on the Angels. I feel like the Padres should possibly, I feel like they should look into, California, or like, teams on the West, because I believe there's great matchups. The other teams, they have great players, and I feel like, they would most likely, fans, I guess fans and possibly, like the coaching staff would probably be like, okay, yeah, I know this, like they know what they're facing, and if they acquire someone, then it's like a lot easier for them to get them into the right spot, and then hopefully win a World Series.
Yeah, for sure. Vincent, thank you for joining the show. I appreciate the comments. That was a good recommendation about Trevor Williams. I just hope the Padres do aim a little bit higher, though, still from him, or aim higher for someone that's better than Trevor Williams. I do like that bobblehead. I saw that. Um, that was the theme game, the Xander Bogaerts Star Wars bobblehead. All right, let's get to the rest of the chat here. Michelle says, "What an embarrassing loss. Schilt made some dumb decisions too." Like what? I mean, you go back to this game, and the high leverage relievers were in the game, his closers in the game, and Robert Suarez didn't pitch well enough. His offense went 0 for 13 with runners in scoring position. That's not something Schilt can control. He went to Morejon, he went to Estrada, went to Adam, and went to Suarez. Like, those are your guys. Those are your four big relievers, and he went to them. Got Kolek out of there. Kolek did his job. He had to take Bogarts out because of the cramping. I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about the dumb decisions part. San Diego will always be a winless loser sports town, Jay says. Well, San Diego Wave, one of the best teams in the league. SDFC is the top team in the Western Conference. They just won yesterday with the comeback win. Good to see Chucky Lozano, by the way, back coming on as a sub, and then he scores. What an assist that was. But so I disagree with that. But if that's what helped you sleep at night, go ahead. Too many excuses, Ben. I'm checking out. Feel free to check out. I don't need you to watch or listen if you don't want to. I'm never going to lie to you guys. Like, this is what I think of this team. If you think they're excuses, then okay. But I'm just telling you how I feel. Yeah, I agree, Michelle. It's always funny seeing Dodger fans in here. Like, I'm sure there are plenty of Dodger channels you can watch. Yeah, because there probably is. I don't know how many because I don't go watch Dodger channels because I'm a Padres fan. I don't need to go watch the Dodgers channels and see what they think. Like, yeah, that's a little weird, but um, they help me out. They give me views. Some Dodger fan earlier today gave me a super chat just to read the score of the Dodgers winning. Okay, cool. Tyler says, longtime fan Ben, thank you. How confident do you feel about this team making the playoffs? I still feel really confident. Um, People may think I'm insane to think that, but like, yeah, I still. It's easy for me to look at the count. Some fans maybe you don't know what date it is, but for me, it's easy to just look at the calendar. All right, it's June 29th. They're over 500. Better start this season in terms of record than they were last year through the certain amount of games. I'm pretty sure. I still think that's still the case. Because what are they now? 45 and 38. Let me double check that. Because last year, 2024 Padres, this would be through what, 82, 83 games? 83 games, I think. Pulling up that from last year, through 83 games last year, they were 42 and 41. Through 83 games this year, they're 45 and 38. They're off to a better start. And second half Schilt teams are usually better than the first half. They just, by the way, they just got finished with a gnarly stretch of 26 games in 27 days. They don't have starting pitching fully healthy. Just got some guys back in the bullpen. Like, it's not the end of the world here for me. Yeah, that is sad, when Sheets, Bogey have good games and you can't win that game. I'm not trying to like say they shouldn't have won this game. No, they should have won this game for sure. And it's disappointing that they lost this series, but I'm not going to say the season's over after they lose a series. Let's see here. Devin says blaming Suarez for the loss is definitely a wrong answer only category. The real reason we lost is the inconsistent offense. Offers with runners in scoring position will not get it done. Plain and simple. Amen. Thank you, Devin. JD's third says, Ben, this team is not last year's team. I understand that, but there's still a good amount of players that were on last year's team. And there's players that were brought in, like a Gavin Sheets, that are helping this year's team. Nick Pivetta has been really good. Adrian Morejon, I think, has made another big step forward. Yeah, I'm seeing some stuff about Tatis and why he's not the same, and it's because of the steroids. Were people saying that earlier this year when he got off to an amazing start? I don't think so. Ray says, Ben, I don't know if you've looked at the strength of schedule the rest of the season. Our schedule is easier than most of the rest of the league, so we should do better the rest of the season. I mean, it helps not to play the Dodgers for the next couple of months. I will say that. And yeah, like that 26 games in 27 days stretch, that was tough. And there were some tough opponents in there. Now, if you're going to make the postseason, you're going to be facing tough teams and tough arms every single night, right? So you should probably get used to it. But all those other teams that have played easier teams, now they'll get to play a tougher schedule than the Padres, you would think. Devin asks, why are people on Padres social media so negative? People acting like the season is over. Come on, guys, you need to do better. Keep the faith. Don't give up. I mean, social media, that's just what it is. It's negative. There are people that are negative towards me. There are people that are just negative towards the Padres. And it's what it is. Don't spend too much time thinking about it. Move on with your day. If people want to be negative and you want to drain your energy being negative, then go for it. Good luck moving a $9 million Cook closer. Okay. If you really think Robert Suarez is cooked, you're crazy. And you don't think other contenders would want Robert Suarez? The money thing I think is a little valid, but like other teams would love to have Robert Suarez in that bullpen. You kidding? The Dodgers are probably one of them. Like if you gave them a lie detector test, they would say, "Yeah, we'd love to have Robert Suarez in our bullpen. He's a quality pitcher." Super chat from Biscuit Wanna Trisket. Could Jason Adam and Suarez switch roles? They could, but the way some people are talking about Suarez, they don't even want him pitching. So it's like you would still pitch. Adrian Morejon is a closer, like that was brought up earlier. I don't think that's the worst, recommendation. Having Jason Adam close, I don't think that's the worst recommendation. Maybe they try that. I still believe in Robert Suarez. Maybe that's crazy. But we just saw last year he struggled and then did his job in the postseason. So I think people are really overreacting to what's happening right now after a blown loss, a blown save. That he may not have, and I'm not trying, it probably sounds like I'm trying to excuse him. He should have been better, of course, but shouldn't have even been in a save situation. The Padres went 0 for 13 with runners in scoring position and had a lead going into the ninth inning. Like, it should not have been that close. JD's third super chat says, "How many wins will we get? What gets us a wild card spot?" Thank you for both of these super chats, guys. What gets us a wild card spot? Well, right now, let's look at the wild card. St. Louis is at 47 and 38. So, what is that? 9 games over 500? So, would like 90 wins have to be that? Around 90 wins? Can they get there? As of now, like the pace that they're on, it would be really close. Because we just crossed the 81 game mark and they're at 45 wins. And yeah, we're at 83 games now. So if they do this in the second half, and usually the team plays better in the second half, if they do play better, then they definitely should be in. If they play the same, then that's where it'll be really close. All right, let's see here. Anything else to bring up? Bring back De Los Santos. De Los Meatballs, you mean? David says, Ben, how do you feel about an O'Neill Cruz, Mitch Keller trade for Salas, Peralta, Campy, and another prospect? Whoa, whoa, whoa. I mean, I can't say the Pirates wouldn't do that, but if you're the Pirates, aren't you trying to build? If you're trying to build, wouldn't you want to keep one of your key starters? Wouldn't you want to keep one of your key young players? I know they already had to move him to the outfield, but you probably want to keep those guys to keep building. But eventually, they're probably going to get traded because that's just what the Pirates do. Personally, I don't think I'd. Yeah, I don't think I'd trade Salas for that. I don't want to give up on Salas yet. I'd be more willing to give up Salas in a Duran trade than I would for O'Neill Cruz, probably. That's just right off. That's just not even looking at numbers. So I should probably look at the numbers. O'Neill Cruz. He's hitting 205 this year. OPS plus below league average. He's got 13 homers, so like there's talent there, there's power there. He's got 27 stolen bases, so there's speed there. But guess what? There's also speed with Duran, who in a down year is hitting 252. He's still got 15 stolen bases. I know, like, because of Cruz's power and stuff, like the OPS looks better. But I like the Duran outfield versatility. I wouldn't be in love with O'Neill Cruz. I don't know. Yeah. Mitch Keller would be interesting to add to that rotation. All right, I think that's going to do it. Talking Friars here. Padres, Reds, Padres lose this series. They're on to Philadelphia now. And the Phillies are 49 and 35. They're leading the National League East. I believe Bryce Harper is still out with an injury. So there's a break there. Can the Padres take advantage of it? We shall see. But we got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Phillies, Padres in Philly. And then off day before they are back home. Thanks, everyone, for watching, for the support, for the hate, because it still counts. Have a great rest of your day, everyone. Have a great weekend or a great Monday whenever you're listening to this. I'll talk to y'all later.